Hey everyone, I'm Ryan Horsch. I'm the Assistant Director in Career Services, and I'm going to be talking today about managing your online reputation. So we'll go ahead and jump right in. If you have questions, feel free to type them into the chat box or just unmute yourself and ask. So what is an online reputation? What does that mean? Really, the online reputation is anything that can be found out about you that is virtual. So all of the information that can be found in a Google search, on your social media, reviews that you've posted on products and um, on services through things like Yelp and Google and Amazon, news articles. So if there's been any articles about you, maybe that's projects that you're working on, or sports, athletics accomplishments, or um, criminal activity. So any of those things could fall into that category. Images, image search. So what comes up when you are looking for you too. So really, all of this put together really creates your online brand, and what sort of what is your the essence of you. And so it's important to know what's out there, and if there is information out there that you wish not to be out there, then we'll talk about how to sort of um, help help remedy that. So when does it matter? When do people actually look at your online reputation? Um, Primarily, this happens when you are looking for a job or applying to college. College recruiters, employers, they all are going to be looking for you. But even when, say, you're starting a business, maybe you are going to need to get a business loan, or people are looking to find out about you as a person, to see if you're a reliable business owner, and making those judgment calls based on what they find out there. Getting a loan. So creditors and loan companies are looking to see, are you a reliable investment? Basically, are you going to be able to pay that loan back? You know, are you the kind of person who, are they going to see that you've been job jumping and started a new job? You have a list of 14 different jobs in the last 2 years listed on your Facebook. Or are they going to see that you have been with the same job and actually moved up in the company through your LinkedIn account? So things like that help to improve your sort of trustworthiness score with them. Connecting with coworkers and networking. So maybe that is, you've met some new people, you started a new job, and now you want to connect with them on LinkedIn, or people might be looking for you and finding out about you because they've heard about you and now they want to know a little bit more. Going on a date. Anybody has stepped into the world of online dating, it's very possible that that individuals that you connect with might be looking for more information about you online. So especially to see if there are any of those unsavory articles that might come up. So just making sure that what they find is going to be good information. So let's talk about the numbers and how employers are using social media. So 92% of US companies are recruiting and screening candidates online. So vast majority of companies are using what they find online and social media to screen candidates. So just making sure you've probably heard that you want to make sure that your social media accounts are private. We'll talk about why maybe that's not actually the right thing to do. Because if they're private, if your account's private, they're not actually going to be able to find out anything about you, and that is almost worse than having no online presence at all. So about half are using to actually contact potential candidates. So they're actually using social media to reach out to potential candidates. And over a third of hiring managers have actually dismissed candidates due to online reputation problems. So issues that they have found, concerns that they have based on the information that they find on social media. Maybe it's a tendency to gravitate towards very controversial topics, a lot of, online trolling, or, angry or angry rants, or very questionable content is posted. So just making sure that that your accounts pass the grandma test. We always say pass the grandma test. If you don't want your grandma to see it, then you don't want to post it. So as far as which sites employers are using, LinkedIn is number one. And really that makes sense because that is sort of a job search and networking site. Facebook and Twitter then tend to be the number two and number three. Which Facebook does actually have. This survey was actually from 2018, and that was prior to Facebook launching their job boards. So actually now I would guess that number has probably gone up a little bit too, because of that, and the ability to actually post jobs now and apply for jobs through Facebook. So I don't have the numbers on here, but interestingly enough, in some of the other research that I've read is that students, while recruiters are using social media to reach out, students are not actually using social media nearly as much in their job search. And so that's a resource that is being underutilized by students. And so you might just keep that in mind as you are beginning your job and internship searches. So some things you may not know about your online reputation and the content that's out there about you. Even content on private accounts can be shared. So just keeping in mind, yes, you have your friends and you trust your friends and your, the family that you have on your friends list. But it is very, very common for people to screenshot content that they find interesting or that they want to save for later. And so that's, you see that all the time in the news is somebody posts a controversial post, and that ends up, going viral. They may delete it, but people have already screenshotted it, but it's out there forever. There's no taking it back. So that's just something to keep in mind. People can save your pictures. So just keeping in mind that your pictures are not necessarily yours once they go out. We've talked about the credit piece already, but just making sure that your online reputation is going to be a positive reflection of your reliability and trustworthiness, as that can impact that. Review websites rank very highly in the search engines. So if you're using your real name to, or your account that is linked to your real name to post a lot of very unsavory, unflattering reviews, just keep in mind that when somebody Googles your name, those reviews associated with your name then are going to pop up too. So, or your username, if you're using a specific username or email address pretty regularly. So the law and Google may be on your side. So what this means is that if you are having issues, if people are sharing information about you that should not be, if it's defamatory, things that maybe it's something that you shared that then other people have saved and are taking off with, you may be able to do something about that. I'm sure you're familiar with the reporting feature within every social media platform has an option to report harassment, report trolls, spam accounts, all those kinds of things. So if people are if you're having issues with people online, there are some ways that you can do go about doing that. And you can request, there's also features to request that somebody take down a certain post. You can untag yourself in certain posts, all of those kinds of things as well. And bad reputations happen to good people. Sometimes there's just nothing that you can do to avoid that. So you may have had something happen, made a very innocent post about something or comment about something, and it blows up and goes viral, and there's no way to predict what's going to go viral. You just have no idea, and some people will some people you don't even know might latch onto that and really drag you through the mud for seemingly no reason. So just understanding that it can happen. The good thing about viral sensations is they usually fade away as quickly as they come. So. Signs of a good online reputation. What you want to see is accurate search results. So when you search for yourself, are you finding yourself? Or are you finding someone else? Funny story. So, my name's Ryan Horsch. I'm a female. I go to search for myself, and I even type in, I think, Ryan Horsch, Kansas. There is another Ryan Horsch in Kansas, and I came to find out that he is very skilled in lacrosse and other athletics, and those were the articles that were dominating that search, and he ended up going to K-State, and so all of that information is out there about him. So if somebody were to be searching for me, they wouldn't find me until way down the list. So what I had to do, well, there was actually some specific steps that I had to take to sort of reclaim that that position in a Google search. And so we'll talk a little bit more about what I had to do, and LinkedIn was a big part of that. So we'll talk about how you can do that down the road. A little side note on this story is that this individual actually is now an ESU student. And so that has added another layer to this this interesting shared name saga, because there has actually been some campus confusion about that as well. So so you just never know. So now if somebody were to type Ryan Horsch, Emporia State, it might not even come up. I have to make sure that I'm still the result that we're seeing on that. So there's a whole new level associated with that, and that's why it's important that you are checking your reputation, Googling yourself often, so that you can see, and monitor those changes. Not only accurate search results, but that it backs up what others already know. What I mean by this is that if you are posing on your resume that you've been very involved in these different activities and organizations, and that you have been, involved in these athletic programs or, community volunteer endeavors, that there's something out there that's going to back that up, that they're going to find that information or some mention of that information somewhere, that your name is going to be popping up in association with some of those things too. So if you have all this stuff on your resume and there is radio silence, no mention of it elsewhere, then you want to make sure that you're that they're able to find that information if it's out there. So active online participation. So when you are commenting on things, when you are sharing things, it's important that they do see that you are using your accounts. And if they are, I mentioned that that having an account, having no online presence is almost worse than having a bad online presence or negative information out there. That's really true nowadays, because if they can't find any trace of you, that's going to be that really doesn't benefit them at all. It doesn't benefit you at all. So if they see that you have an account that you haven't used, oh, well, this person started a LinkedIn account back in 2018, but there's been zero activity since then. That doesn't do them any good. What have you been doing for the last 2 years? So, so they need to see active online participation, and sharing content that is relevant to your field, or maybe research interests of yours, or just other, other interests that support, again, sort of um, this your brand, or your just who you are. That all helps to formulate that picture of who you are, and what you do. So again, that helps to sort of back it up, right? Back up that what others already know about you. And then the absence of embarrassing entries. So trying to avoid those embarrassing entries that, or those search results that are more unsavory. So some signs of a bad online reputation. So I mentioned earlier, complete lack of information or inaccurate results. So if somebody was looking Ryan Horsch Emporia State, and finding this other guy, they may think that I'm falsely, that I'm falsely claiming that I am involved with Emporia State, because there's no record of me there, right? Complete lack of information is sort of that same way. So they're going to start at the top. They're not going to dig deep into search results to try to find you. So just making sure that that you are showing up, and that you're showing up towards the top. Negative news stories or bad reviews. Nowadays, anybody can review you for anything. Even if you sell your dishware on Facebook Marketplace, the buyer can review you. So if you end up having, a negative, you have 1-star review, people are saying that you're not on time for meeting up, your communication is terrible, that you're, unreliable and unfair in dealing with, and you change you're constantly changing what your asking price is. Those are all going to reflect negatively on you. So just making sure that even those kinds of reviews are positive. It all reflects on your character. Okay. Hateful or controversial opinions. Right now, it's always important, but right now especially, there's a lot going on in our world. And in our country, we've got this huge election. It's very divisive. We've got this pandemic that's also very divisive, as far as how to manage it, deal with it, and keep everybody safe. And so there are a lot of opinions going around about all of these things, and people are very passionate about their opinions here. And so it is very important that you are cognizant of how you are portraying yourself, and how you are presenting your opinions. If you do chime in on these, articles, or in the comments section, and understand that people are going to see it, and they can screenshot it. Even if you post something that is maybe buried in thousands of comments, people can see it, especially your connections. So if you guys have a shared interest, say you both follow the same local news outlet, and you both post on this, they're going to see your comments. They're going to see their friends' comments first. So all of that information is important to know, because people are going to, there may be 1,000 comments, but people are going to see yours if you're connected to them. So understanding that everybody has an opinion right now, and that doesn't mean that they all need to be out there. So I would really suggest, if you do have a strong opinion, that you take a breath, that you take some time to really think about your response, and decide, is this going to be helpful? How could this represent me? How is this comment going to represent me to somebody? And if an employer, if a potential employer were to see this, how would they react to this comment? So, so understanding, what the repercussions could be for that. Inappropriate or embarrassing photos. Um, those 2 a.m. pictures that you thought were really funny at the time maybe are not so funny. And same with, posting pictures that you think are funny of your friends and tagging them in it. You could be doing damage to their online reputation too. So just being respectful and being aware of what you're putting out there. And if you do happen to post something and you see it the next day and think, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that, just delete it. And then unsavory records. So if you have criminal record or things like that, the Public Records Act allows people to obtain that information. And so people can actually do a background check or records check on you and find that out. People make mistakes, so it's important that that if you do have some of those unsavory records in your past, that you are doing what you can to put that positive information out there and what you've been doing since then. So some steps to assess your online reputation. How do you even know what's out there? The easiest way to do that is to Google yourself. And I would say do that do that now, do it often, and making sure that you are, checking in, I would say at least every 6 months and taking some time to see what's out there about you and what comes up in a Google search for you. And if you're not finding yourself, you can start with the general, just searching your name. Then you can add in your state, your community, maybe the school, see what things are connected to you and where you do come up in those results. Take a look at your social media accounts, check those out. Sometimes we post things and we totally forget, you'll have a memory pop up from, Facebook's good at reminding you of those things. So you might have a memory that pops up from 7 years ago and you're like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot that I even posted this. So go back, look at your timeline, look at your photos, see what's out there, see what you're tagged in. You can sort by photos that others have posted and tagged you in. You can sort by things that you've posted. So just make sure that you know what is out there about yourself. And consider how many of these results actually apply to you. So again, are these accurate search results? Are they actually finding you? Assess whether these results are positive, are they negative, or are they neutral? Obviously, we want the positive results. That's the ideal. Neutral would then be sort of the next level there. So just kind of, oh, they're showing up, but it doesn't really tell me much about that person. Negative would then be sort of those unsavory records or again, complete absence of any online reputation. And when in doubt, ask somebody to look at it for you, give their perspective. Sometimes that can help too, because something that maybe you don't think is a big deal, somebody else might have a different interpretation for that, or be able to give you some feedback on how that might be interpreted. And so it's just important to take that time to give it a second look. And if you can't find anybody to look that over for you, schedule an appointment with a career counselor to just do a quick maybe LinkedIn review and chat about online reputation. So what do you do if your online reputation has been tarnished or not quite sure, not really seeing what you want to be seeing out there? So first things first, try to remove the content. So if there's pictures out there that you don't want to be out there, remove them or ask the person who posted them to remove them. If they won't, then you can report that to all the social media creators, hosts, whatever, Facebook, Twitter, all of those have different ways that you can go about reporting or appealing certain content. So just feel free to, you can definitely do that if there's an issue. Change your screen name. We are creatures of habit and we tend to use the same screen names across the board. If anybody ever watches Catfish, this is one of the strategies that they use to actually track down people. because again, we tend to use these same screen names across the board. So if you have maybe a negative connection between you or association between you and the certain screen name or identity, consider changing it. If you can't delete it, you can't deactivate it, then consider changing it. Distance yourself from that account. You can make your name more unique. So maybe that means you are adding in, your middle initial or something like that. So I always encourage you to encourage students to have, sort of a professional screen name or URL, domain name, whatever, whenever possible. Usually that includes your name, your actual name, rather than some sort of random nickname like Owl Girl or something like that. I don't know. It's Halloween. I guess I have owls in my brain right now. So understanding that mistakes happen and we need to avoid those next time. So just learn from your mistakes and move on and really work on developing that positive reputation. Eventually, older content is going to get buried. It's not going to show up in results as often. So and eventually it will be covered up by that newer content. So working on developing that positive reputation, and there are some things that you can do intentionally to help boost that positive content. So let's talk about that. LinkedIn is one of the best ways to actually develop and cultivate your online reputation. This is not a shameless plug for LinkedIn. I have no stake or share in LinkedIn other than it is a very, very useful tool. And I don't think it gets enough credit for that. LinkedIn has high domain authority. And so what that means is that LinkedIn it's a trusted site, and that if you are posting content in LinkedIn and you're posting it frequently, which would be at least 3 times a week, and that doesn't even have to be original content. It could be just sharing content that you are actually, because LinkedIn has that high domain authority, it is going to bump up to the top of a Google search. And so if you are what LinkedIn identifies as a regular poster or regularly engaged in the LinkedIn platform, that it's going to bump up your specific profile in search results. So that's pretty cool. You can actually you have some control over that LinkedIn and the algorithm that they use, right? So what this algorithm tells us is that if you are engaging daily for at least 10 to 15 minutes, and again, that can just be scrolling through, reading articles, being logged into LinkedIn and using your account, it's going to recognize, again, that you're a regular user. The less activity that you have on your account, the less visibility you're going to have when it comes to showing up in search results. So hashtags are another part of that algorithm. LinkedIn does not like excessive hashtags, and I know that there are some people that use those regularly, and they use them they think they're creating additional visibility, right? Because people who follow certain hashtags then would see that information. But LinkedIn says that professionally speaking, 3 hashtags is the limit, right? So understanding that if you are including more than 3 hashtags on a post, that's going to decrease the visibility of that post, right? It also recognizes that comments carry more weight than likes. So if you are going and liking articles, that's not going to carry nearly as much weight as if you're commenting and thoughtfully commenting on articles. So if you're just going around, they're pretty specific in this one as well. So if you're just going around and saying, cool, or, I agree, those comments are not going to carry as much weight as something a little bit more in depth. It says at least 6 words long. So that's part of that, again, that algorithm, at least 6 words long, 3 or fewer hashtags. That's what LinkedIn's looking for as far as comments and again, the weight of your comments. So again, all of those things, if you're you're commenting thoughtfully on posts, you're not using excessive hashtags, you're spending some time in the LinkedIn platform, you're sharing interesting content, those are all going to help you boost your LinkedIn profile in a Google search, okay? And what that is literally, I mean, your LinkedIn account, it's free. It is it's your professional profile. So you are, if you are doing these things, that's going to help you push the profile that you've created, that image that you've created of yourself. It's going to boost that up in the search results, and it's going to show, to have more visibility and be what people see first when they Google you. Okay, so so you can literally control where you come in the search results by your connections with LinkedIn. So ideally, we would prevent these mistakes to begin with. So keep what's private private. I know there are there's a lot of temptation out there right now to just share whatever's on your mind. It's really important that you, as the image here says, stop and think. So is this something that really needs to be said? Is it useful? Is it going to be helpful to somebody? Is it going to, you know, to share factual information? Is it going to, you know, is it going to benefit people to hear this information? Or is it just, you know, a rant, you know, to help you feel better? So keep what's private private when you can. So not everything needs to be public information. Okay. Monitor your online reputation. Like I said, check in on this often. At least every 6 months, I would check in, Google yourself, see what comes up. Work on getting angry online. There's a lot of triggers these days, a lot of things that are that can push our buttons and that can really make us angry. And it's really important that we, again, take a step back and evaluate, is this information that I really need to be posting? How could this be perceived? How could this reflect on me? It's not that easy to have that perspective in the heat of the moment, but it is advisable that you know, if you draft out a post, save it as a draft. You can do that, I think, across the board. So save it as a draft and come back to it in a little bit when you've cooled down. And then see, is this really what I want to say? Be sure that you're using strong passwords, securing your devices. So if you are, you know, living with a roommate, or maybe living in a fraternity or sorority house, or even in your household where you have, you know, other family members, sometimes people think they're funny, even not doing it maliciously, but if you leave your phone out and it's unlocked, people think they're funny and can go post things. I've seen a number of Facebook friends be hacked, so to speak, by their significant others, or their kids or whatever, posting things that appear to be from them. So it's important that you are not leaving your devices out where people can do that. So again, generally it's done in a joking way, but somebody who had other intentions could do some damage to your online reputation that way. And along those same lines, you know, make sure you're securing your devices. Use that fingerprint unlock, or, you know, have a PIN password or something like that, so people can't just access your device if it's sitting out. Using strong passwords, making sure that you're not clicking on links in your, you know, social media accounts. You're not clicking on articles and then entering your password and giving hackers your information, because that happens a lot, and they create then copycat accounts of yours and request your friends and can do damage to your online reputation that way. So just making sure that you are trying to be safe and keep your information secure. And again, think before you post. Just take some time, step away from the computer, the device, the post, save it as a draft, and really think about that before you put it out there to the world. So what can you do? How do you develop an online presence? When do you start? Start now. You don't need to wait until you are, getting ready to graduate to do this. This really needs to be something that you are crafting as you go and developing as you go. I know a lot of times there's the university, if you're on the honor roll, there will be information that comes out about that. There will be club and organization information out there in the newspapers. There will be, you can have your LinkedIn account. You can have all of that information out there now that people can be finding. Invest in professional photos, or check out university photography. A lot of times they will be able to schedule you to take a headshot, and they'll do that for free. So you're not going to get, a lot of prints or anything like that out of them, or a lot of different poses, but you could at least have, one professional headshot that you use for your social media accounts. And I would encourage you to use a professional photo. You don't want to have something like your Snapchat filter with all the little, with a bunny face and little flowers around your head. That's not a professional image. That's not a professional picture. It's funny, but it's not. That's not the image that you want to put out there to potential recruiters. Claim your online properties, accounts, domains. So what I mean when I say this is, go out if there are, email addresses, claim your email addresses across the board at, at Yahoo, at Gmail. That's, ryanhorsch@gmail.com or whatever. So make sure that you have that information. On LinkedIn, you can claim your own URL. So what happens when you create a LinkedIn account is that you're actually assigned a very random generic URL. And so it'll be, linkedin.com/in/ totally random, chain of numbers and letters. But you can change that. You can claim that, and it could be linkedin.com/in/ryanhorsch. So if you're the first one to claim that, then you have that URL, and that's yours forever. So just understanding that you have some access there. Maybe somebody else has already claimed the initial one, so maybe you need to add in your middle initial. Just understanding that you can change that and make it more meaningful to you and to employers is useful. Actually use your account. So again, if they're going to find an account sitting there from 2018 that has no content on it, or they're going to see your high school pictures from 5 years ago, I mean, that's not going to add much for an employer. So use your accounts and let them see the positive things that you're doing and that you're sharing. Link to your most positive online results. So the other cool thing with LinkedIn is you can actually link to things on there. And most social media accounts actually link to allow you to add in, links in your bio to, if there are maybe articles or if there's information out there that reflects who you are, link to some of that information. Share your knowledge with others, tell others about this. And again, don't let somebody else impact your online reputation negatively. So making sure that your people are not tagging you in things. I would set your profile preferences, to require that you approve anything before it goes on your timeline. So people can tag you in things, but it's not going to show up on your timeline unless you approve it. So just understanding that you have some control over that and making sure that you do implement those settings when you can. And start now. Don't wait. You don't need to wait till you're graduating. This is something that is applicable across the board and is going to be with you forever. Once it's out there, it's out there. So just making sure that you are starting now and giving this some thought. And I think that is, yep, that is the end of my um, presentation. So I'll stick around for a few if you have any questions, but otherwise, have a good day. Thanks for joining me.